Welcome to the Speak with People podcast, where we believe that healthy communication is the key to unlocking your leadership potential. We are the go-to resource for leaders looking to greatly improve their communication skills, whether it's one-on-one interactions, team settings, public speaking, or digital communication. By improving these skills, leaders can create stronger connections and drive positive change within their organizations. Each and every episode, we sit down with experts from various fields from around the world, just like you're grabbing a coffee with them, to dive into real, practical conversations. Our goal is to help you transform your communication skills so you can lead more effectively, build stronger relationships, and make a lasting impact. So go grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's learn together. Well, how do you lead with confidence, clarity, and purpose without losing yourself in the process? A lot of leaders, myself included, we focus on driving results, but what happens when you hit the goals and you still feel out of sync? What if alignment matters just as much as achievement? Well, my guest today is Valarie Sandjivy. She's the founder of Ellipus. She's an engineer, an executive coach, transformational leadership mentor. She's helped leaders all over the world evolve their leadership style by mastering their emotions, building self-awareness, and leading with soul and strategy. I have been following Valarie for a while online. I have learned an absolute ton. Turns out we both lived in Michigan at one point, and so we were able to connect that way. So I'm excited to talk more about that. So whether you lead a business, a team, yourself, I really believe this episode is going to help inspire you, challenge you to think deeper, live healthier, and live more fully. Valarie, thank you so much for being a guest on the Speak with People podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Jason, for having me in your show.
I love it. And you are the absolute first person? No, I'm sorry. You're the second
Oh,
person from Paris.
oh, too bad.
Oh,
Ah.
I'm so sorry.
I
We
wish I was
did.
the first one, but anyway, good for
Yes,
Paris.
I had to think about it. We did have a leader who worked at Disney Paris. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
that was great. Well, hey,
interesting.
before we hop into this much needed conversation, tell us a little bit more about yourself, who you are, what you do, what's kind of got you to this place as a leader.
I was going to do a bad joke. How long do you have? Because I have so many things to say.
Yes.
So today I am a business coach and a leadership mentor, but I was not always that. So I'm an engineer, like you said, and I have as well a master degree from international business school, and I spent 20 years in different corporate settings up to C-level. And among those 20 years, I did 17 years of leadership. So I want to say like the common thread of my path to make it kind of short because and then we can you can ask any question that you want. But I think the common thread in my career was like I was always the one who would start something new. Like you mentioned, I was in Detroit. I spent 7 years in Detroit, and among those 7 years, I was the head of the business unit. Because I was the one starting that business unit over there in the US for our organization. But it was not only the first time. I was the first one as well to enter to step foot, in Japan. It was the country we wanted, to enter as a market. We wanted our product to be there. So I was the first one to do that. Then I was the first one, to open this big unit in France for healthcare, which was not done in France. So it was, so kind of the common thread has always been, innovation, doing something new, new operations, and kind of like the feeling of starting over. Always have to start over. When you open a new plant, you have to start over because it's not there is nothing. When you change, you go from automotive and you go to healthcare, it's starting over because you have to build all your network again. And it's interesting because in my own business, I'm always starting kind of over. What I mean by that is like I'm always refining and refining and refining.
Mm.
So people sometimes, I work with people, with clients, and they reach out, after a break of 6 months, and they say, Valerie, I want to come back. I say, yes, you are more than welcome, and I want to do whatever we were doing. I say, oh, that's not going to be possible because I'm not doing that anymore. Which in a way is because I'm evolving, I'm refining, and I think it's very important for me that we do that as leaders, always to refine, because we are in a world where there is so much change all the time. So if I'm the one keeping doing the same thing, if and we can, of course, we always can. But for me, it feels like I need, to go with the flow. And, we have so many changes that I want, always to refine. Not necessarily to do something new all the time, which I can, but it's like to bring another layer of
Mm.
something, another refinement, another depth of the topics I'm working on, which is very much about leadership. So, and the two topics like I like to bring, in leadership is all about, the topic of insecurity, safety, because that's something we have to deal with, which is not an easy topic for any human being actually.
Hmm.
And the fact that we need, as a leader, to be constantly moving. We have to have this momentum, all the time, because that's what leaders are, moving all the time. And that's why I like, the fact that my path had trained me on that. You go to Japan, you go to the US, you go to Brazil, because I work as well with Brazil. You go there, you come to healthcare, you do that. Not that anybody forced me to do anything, of course. I made the choice to do it. But for me, it was always, interesting, to go there and, to go in a movement, always in a movement.
Hmm.
And that's what I like about my job, and leaders. We have to move all the time. We have to move.
Wow. 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 Just before we hop it, I mean, you've given already me. I already have so many questions to ask you based on what you just said. But more on the personal note, has it been difficult to learn how to move from culture to culture? I mean, Paris, Detroit. I think you mentioned Japan. Different places you've lived. Is it exciting for you, or is it a challenge to learn how to adapt to the different cultures?
Actually, it's not a question that I've been asked a lot, but actually, so I'm French. I was born and raised in France, except the 7 years I spent in Detroit. But my background, my parents are from India, so already I have two cultures. Already, the Indian culture, which very much my parents raised us in the French way. That's the way we've been raised. But we still have the background. We'll still go to India, and then I part of my blueprint, that's the way I want to call it, is like I like to be, in different cultures. I like to be in different environment. I love it. I traveled a lot in my life. I remember when I spent all those years in Detroit, I was traveling all around the US. I didn't stay, in Detroit. Every weekend I would go out. Every vacation I would go out. It's been, in my DNA to travel and to learn about culture, to discover the world. I've been to so many countries. So I think, kind of like it was in my blueprint. So for me, it was not even a question. You go to Japan, I go to Japan. Tomorrow you tell me you have to go to Italy, I go to Italy. Actually, I was going a lot to Italy, so it's not a problem. I love it. It's part of my DNA. That's the way I like to say. I like to learn about cultures. It's not a problem to me. I know that we have differences, and I respect very much. I like to learn before, about the countries, what we can do, what we can't do, because it's very important to know that before stepping and doing, what we are not supposed to do, because different culture, different country, different people. Yeah, we have to be
Hmm.
respect that. So no, very much it was always there, and I love it, and I miss that actually, because I've been in, kind of like stationary for the past 10 years, like building this big business, and it's kind of like I want to move again.
Wow. Wow. That's just incredible. So you talked about insecurity. Do you come across many leaders who you would say are not insecure? I mean, what percentage, do they exist? Because it's really nice to, have you affirm that insecurity is an issue that many of us struggle with.
Yeah. You know what? I don't think there is anybody that is not insecure, but I do believe, though, that there are a lot of people who are dealing with that differently. Some people don't deal with that at all. Some people deal that like it doesn't exist and move on like it doesn't exist, but it's there for everybody. So I think there is a big range of the way we deal with insecurity, but it's there for everybody. And it's the way. I like to bring it, for leaders. It's like, for me, it was my path. So I feel that whatever we learn on our path is something that we have to bring as a service to the world. And for me, it's, like I was not that my parents put me in insecurity or anything like that. It was not the case. Actually, it was I felt insecure, within my bones. I could feel it. I wouldn't feel secure, with the world. Actually, you know what? I'm going to tell you a secret. Like I shouldn't be me say that on the podcast. It's like I was so scared about life, like the way the world. I was. For me, it was like I wouldn't comprehend what was the world about, what was the life about, what we were doing here. And so there was so much insecurity. And, for me, it was a big path about that. And now, today, when I hear, because sometimes we still hear people saying, but I don't know what life is about. I don't know what the meaning of life. I said, oh, that's interesting. I don't feel that anymore because it means I grow and then I think differently. Now I enjoy life. But that's something I built. That's something we built, and we have to build it from inside.
Wow.
That's very important. That's something I learn. It's like you can always have security, from your spouse, your family, the company you work for, your friends, your house, your car, whatever. And it's okay. All of that is so much okay. But for me, it was external security, and I didn't want that because if the spouse you get to a divorce, which I don't wish for anybody to to go through that. At one point, you have to live your own life. You can't stay with your family. You have to live your own life. You have to leave the house and go travels and do stuff. So for me, it's like I was always seeking for this internal, even if at the beginning I was not putting those words, but I was looking for this internal security. How can I build it from inside?
Wow.
And you know what, Jason, what I learned, and if that's something I can share with the leaders of your audience, it's something very important. How do we build this security from inside? And it's very much about kind of like, I want to say the word ending or stopping the fight. I call it the fight because that's the way I was doing it with the mental, who is trying to tell you a lot of stuff to keep you secure. But
Mm.
actually, it was not really keeping you secure, but it was trying to. And the soul who wants, to land and to do, the mission, whatever we are here to bring to the world, because everybody has a mission. For me, everybody has one. Whether we know it or not, that's a different story. But everybody is here to play a note of the music, so we have a nice harmony and a nice
Wow.
symphony out there in the world. So everybody has one. And I think part of our mission is to get to know which one it is. But actually, we have a lot of signals. We can go into that in a few minutes. But for me, it was kind of the security landed when I allowed, my soul, the way I want to call it, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that, to take place, and then to let go of the mental who wanted to take care of everything. And at that point, I could feel it, within my bone. Okay, I'm fine now. I don't feel that within, inside this big void that many people feel, like it was not there anymore. And I felt secure, but from inside. So I don't need, the house. I don't need, the spouse. I don't need, my family. I like all of them, but I don't need them. I love all of them, but I don't need them. Which I really hope they don't need me either,
Mm.
because I really want them, to feel that for themselves. So that's something we work, and because for us leaders, we have to know how to feel that, because we have to go on the mission and we have to lead ourselves and we have to lead the people.
Wow.
That's what we have to do.
Wow. Wow.
I'm sure you have any questions. I'm going to
I
let you
no,
on.
that is that's profound. Absolutely love that. I mean, I love going back a few steps. Your analogy with we each have the note to play. I mean, so many leaders we convince ourselves that we're not really adding anything. We're not a big part of the equation, or we don't have a big a piece of the music, and it's just not true. It's just not true. And when you're able to step into the
Yeah.
mission that you've talked about, it's just a powerful. You talk about kind of these four pillars of
Yes.
adaptive leadership.
Yeah.
What Why do they matter now? What are they? And then why
Yeah.
do they matter now more than ever?
Yeah, no problem. So the four pillars that is the way I work. Is my kind of my protocol, if I may say. My method. It's like the first pillar is how to lead ourselves. And I know you had a couple of guests already speaking about how to lead ourselves. So I don't want to say the same thing, but I'm going to bring a few other perspectives about that. So I'm going to say all the four pillars, and then I'm going to dive in the one which one you want me to dive in. So the first one is how to lead ourselves, because if I don't know how to lead myself, I can't go to the second pillar, which is how to lead others.
Hmm.
And how to lead others is how to lead my team. If I'm in charge of a team, how to lead other leaders, how to show people how to climb the mountain, because it's very much a mountain that we are climbing.
Yep.
And the third one is everything around e-mastery, and the first one is emotional mastery, and then is as well envision mastery, excellence mastery. And why do I speak about emotional mastery and not emotional resilience or emotional intelligence, which very much we hear about that? Is because for me, I already feel that we have to go one step beyond in terms of emotions, and I can dive into that if you want to. It's no problem. And the last one is the soul care, which is very much how to take care of myself. Nobody's going to take care of me. I have to take care of myself. And as I said, if you guys are a burnout, I mean, sorry for the word, but you are useless. So we want you to be in doing your mission, playing your note. So you have to take care of yourself, and you have to do that for you and for your family, of course, as well, always. But for you first, so you are able, to keep doing your mission. Okay, so that's the way. And those four pillars are here for me because that's a foundation that every
Mm.
leader needs, so they can rely on this foundation, they can step on this foundation, they can ground on this foundation, and then something else can happen. And this something else is like every leader that you speak with, everybody said the same thing. It's like, I was driving my car, going to do something, or I was in the shower this morning, or I was on my treadmill, and I had this super idea, this brilliant idea came. Nobody says I was sitting in front of my computer trying to find an idea and nothing was coming up. Everybody says that nothing was coming up, of
Right.
course.
Right.
But it's never there. It's never when you're in front of your computer. It's always in those space, where you are doing something else. And why is that? It's because the mind is occupied, doing something. So then something else can come because you are occupied, taking a shower or driving the car. So the mind is busy, kind of. So because the mind is busy, it's not trying to interfere with the something else that wants to come.
Right.
So, and that's what I said. Okay, if this happens, when I am in the shower or driving my car or playing with the kids or whatever we are doing in our life, I said, how can I model that so it comes anyway?
Wow.
And that's why I came up with the four pillars. So, what is the foundation that the mind is occupied with? So, lead yourself, lead other. So, the mind is very much occupied with that. And then, the soul can come in and give all those brilliant ideas, about whatever we are here to bring to the world. Again, our mission or service, the way we want to call it.
Wow.
So,
As you've traveled, as you worked with companies, you've consulted, uh, do you see it's on an upswing? Is it more than ever before that they're caring more about their employees' internal world, like you talk about your soul care? Is it still something that is lacking, and the employee is going to have to continue, making sure that they're fighting to make sure that they do that on their own? What do you see as you kind of look out over the horizon?
for me, the people I work with very much ask me. I think most of them ask me, but Valerie, how do we deal, with new generation? The Gen Z, the Gen Y before, how
Yes.
do we deal with all of that, with all of those new generation? And I say the same thing to everybody. I said, generation is like every generation is bringing something new, and is going to melt, with the previous generation, and we are going to come, with a kind of a compromise, if I want to say it, like something which is in between. And so the leaders I work with, because of the new generation, and the new generation, we saw that with the Y, the millennium, and we see it even more with the Gen Z. They want, their, time off. They want, their um, balance, equilibrium, with, work and personal life, because this generation is not doing, only one job. They are doing like so many things. They are building an app. They are building, they are a coach. They are doing so many things. They don't want, to be only, doing the work. So because of that, is bringing that on the market. So that's part of the answer I want to give. So can we are forced. Some people say, but no, here we don't do that. We are not, adaptive. We are. It's like no remote work. Everybody comes to the office. I said, you know what? It's fine for now, but at one point you won't be able to hire anybody, because that's going to be a problem. So you have to think that about. You have to think ahead, because that's the generation, and it's okay because we can do it. We learned it during COVID, so we can do it. So for me, it's like, even if some of us are still thinking the old way, if I may say,
Mhm.
the new generation is going to force us to think more about, this right balance, and that's good. I think in that perspective. So for me, the people I work with are very much interested in how do we bring, this more, this adaptation, and how do we are more giving, paying attention, to this balance. And there is always companies who are, like, this is the way we are going to do, the old way, the way we always use, and we are not going to be adaptive. But that's not very much the people I work with. Usually the leaders I work with, they really want to know how to melt, with this new way of thinking for
Yeah.
themselves and for the team.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You bring up so many good ideas there, and especially as I'm looking around all the time, looking at Gen Z, and I have children in the Gen Z category, and you kind of look around. A lot of the times, I'm in spaces where, especially in the banking world, where I'm speaking and training, you've got Gen Z or young millennials who are the front lines of a bank talking to boomers who
Mhm.
are managing their money, and there's just a lot of communication
Mm.
breakdown, and they Gen Z Gen Z might wonder, why do I even go to a bank? Like, why would I do that? And so and the research I just read this last weekend talked about Gen Z being a generation who's passionate about their health,
Mm.
saving money. I mean, it's really fascinating for us leaders to
Yes.
be able to, kind of get that horizon and know, what's happening with them. When you specifically look at that generation, when it comes to soul care, when it comes to, I love how you said emotional mastery.
Mhm.
What do you see for them as you're training, leading, consulting? Is this something that will come natural to them, or is it going to be something that is going to need to be coached in them?
Um, you know, Maybe let's define what is emotional mastery, and then we are going to go
Yes.
into that. Maybe for the audience, because I don't
Yes.
know if everybody knows what I mean by that. So for me, emotional mastery is all about, one step, as I said, one step further about, emotional resilience and emotional intelligence, which is, when we are a leader, we are asked, to be able, when an emotion is rising, that not necessarily to entertain this emotion at the moment that is coming up. So let's give an example, because examples are always great. So I'm having a nice conversation with you, and we are like having discussing a subject like Gen Z, for example, and then suddenly you say something, and I'm triggered. It's not about you doing something to me. I am triggered. But as I am having this conversation with you, this is not the moment to, take this emotion and lash out at you, or say, okay, Jason, because it's of all of you, this is your fault. We shouldn't speak about that. This is not your fault. So, but the emotion is still here. I'm still feeling triggered. So what do I do? So for me, the few steps I say, okay, to leaders, we have to learn to, okay, I can see this emotion, I can feel this emotion, but I'm not entertaining this emotion. I'm not, entering, a communication with this, emotion right now. I'm not discussing with this emotion right now. But I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm just putting on the side and saying I'm going to deal with you in a few minutes or in a few hours, but I'm going to deal with you with it. You know. And then I'm finishing the conversation with you, okay? And then I go, and this is something that I do, all the time. And this is kind of like a mandatory best practice for me. It's like contemplation. So every day, if I have time, if I don't have time, at least once a week, I spend some time about all those emotions, who came up and that, I was triggered with. And I say, okay, now is the time to look at you. What did you want to tell me? And usually, the emotion doesn't want to say anything. It just wants to go because
Wow.
that's emotion, and it's coming and leaving.
Yep.
What is not living is like the mental story around the emotion, which is trapping the emotion. So, what we want to do in order for the emotion not to be trapped, we need to deal with what the story is behind. And you don't necessarily have to go deep and unfold, unravel, everything that happened for us since we were five. We don't need to go to do that. But we can say, okay, I was triggered, with this conversation I had with this person, but this is not this person. This person doesn't do anything to me. She's just showing something that has not been, dealt with for you, Valerie. So
Wow.
then you let the emotion go, you take care of it, and then you can have different techniques. Breathing usually is a good one. And then I always say to all the leaders I work with, find a technique which is usually around sport, around tapping, to deal with this emotion but that's not the issue. And then you and me, we are going to discuss about the mental, the story, or anything that was triggering really the emotion that we are going to do. But then you have to let go of the emotion, and usually when you do that, the emotion goes very fast. Emotion,
Mm.
they don't want to stay around. The mental, the mind wants to trap it and say, okay, this is mine, I'm going to stick to it with it because I
Yeah.
have a big story around that.
Wow.
So, and that's what it is for me, mastery.
Yeah. Oh, that is powerful. Do you think in 2025 and beyond, it's more difficult to achieve this emotional mastery because our attention spans have shrunken? We're picking up our devices hundreds of times a day. We're seeing all of this onslaught of news that is just wild. Do you think it's more difficult, or for the leader who's, leading the way that you're laying out for us, we'll be able to, it won't be as difficult. Would love your thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to share. So for me, one part of the question was about is the youngest the Gen Z generation, um, how they are dealing with the emotions. It was the first part of the question,
Yep.
and for me, is because you know like boomers and generation X, we were not supposed to speak about emotion at work. Don't deal with that at work. This is not the place. Take it with you, put it here, and put bottle up, all the emotion.
Right.
And especially don't speak about that. It doesn't happen. This is not the case since the millennium and since the Gen Z. We can speak about emotion. We can say about what we feel. And when sometimes because I lead, I coach, I mentor, the leaders. But sometimes they ask me, to lead their team, and sometimes we have like younger people in those teams. And they ask question like, yeah, today actually I had one. She's like probably like 25, I think, not even more than that, maybe even less. And she said, Valerie, what I want to deal with is like, I'm very emotional, and I don't want to lash out at the team, and I want to know how to deal with it. I wouldn't have asked this question when I was 25.
Right. Wow.
So I think it's like the way I see it is not everybody, but I think it's like they are more open to discuss about that.
Yeah.
Okay, this is happening, I want to discuss about that. And especially the Gen Z is looking for after their manager there as a mentor. You are not so much a manager that you are a mentor, so I
Right.
want you, to be able to deal with it with these emotions, and I want you to have emotions as well, because we are all humans. So for me, it's very much about um, about that with the new generation. The second part of the question, it was around, yes, we have so much information coming up, all the time.
Hmm.
But for me, it's not necessary about does it trigger more emotions or not. It's not about that for me. It's like the question I ask always myself is, why do I need to feed myself with so much information that I'm going to forget, in the minute I read it?
Mm.
Because that's what is happening, with everything that we're scrolling, coming in and going out, and sometimes we remember one or another things. So for me, it's not necessarily about um, does it of course it does trigger emotion, but for me the deepest subject that I work with the leaders is, why do we need to feed ourselves with so much information? Why do we
Wow.
need to feed ourselves? And what am I feeling? Usually it's a void. The void of what? So for me, it's like, let's go into the void. And since, when you have, this deep connection with your soul and your mission and everything, you don't need so much, to scroll. What you are looking for is like more things which are related to your mission. Like for me, it's like when I listen to a podcast, it's podcast around leadership. When I go on social media, I'm looking to the one who are going to give a new message around leadership, about emotions. But I'm not going to scroll the people who are posting about their cats, about the new things, which I respect very much. Again, we need things for everybody. But for me, I'm going to look for that, the leadership things. So I'm not so much, scrolling and trying to fill up a void. I'm just looking for information. With AI right now, you can play with AI all day long, and it's going, to make you to have you busy all day long. But for me, the way I use it is like, I'm looking for information, I'm looking for something, and then I'm going to ask AI how it can help me. But it's not AI who is going to do my job, but it's going to help me. It's an assistant. So when I go and ask a question and deal with it, it's like, because I have something very important in my head. It's like, I have the context, I have everything, and then I'm asking the question. I'm not just chatting, with AI. So for
Wow.
me, it's like, whatever. What am I looking for in those social media or phones or information?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
What advice do you have for leaders who maybe they're experiencing some success at work, things seem to be going well, but they just seem stuck internally. Like it's just not, it's just not matching up. It's not aligned, and they're trying to figure out how to get that aligned. What advice or thoughts would you have for them?
What we're saying, just to make sure that I understand the question, is like, they have success or they don't have success.
They do on the outside, but on
Yeah,
the
okay.
inside, they just feel like
Yeah,
it just
something is lacking.
yes.
Yeah. So for me, uh, yeah, there is so much we can say around that. So for me, success is just a word. For me, there is some words like I like to change like this. If there was one word I want to change, this would be success. It's like failure. I changed the word failure, and for me, it's not failure anymore. It's iterations. There is not such a thing as failure. There is only iterations. We can go into
Wow.
that in a few minutes. But I want to answer your question first. So for me, it's not about success. But if I want to take those words, what does it mean success? Success is about alignment. Am I aligned, with whatever, my body wants, whatever my emotions are aligned with, whatever my mental is doing, and whatever my soul or my spirit is leading me to do? If everything is aligned, then I'm fulfilled. And because I'm fulfilled, I am successful. And usually when we do it, for external validation, success, like because I have the nice car, because I have the nice business, because I have the nice make money. And part of the alignment, it doesn't mean that we can't make money. Of course, we can make money when we are aligned, and we can define, part of the success with money, but it's not, the big chunk. And when we put, success externally, like we can put safety externally, it's the same thing. So it means we rely on external things to be successful. But what does it mean? It's like it's if like let's say for example I'm having my business and this year for example I'm going like it's going down a little bit, because of the market or whatever. Am I going to say that I'm not successful anymore, or am I going to look at that internally and say, okay, what is the alignment, what is needed right now in order to feel aligned anymore again, to feel aligned again. So I'm going to feel successful again. I can have this um, pattern, or I can say, okay, how can I get more clients? How can I do that? Which is going to be very much, external validation and external success defined by others. But when you speak with people who have a lot of money, who did, well in their job, what they say, money is not the thing.
Mm,
Something is missing. So
right.
let's build it right away, let's build it right away on the way that we are building our business, on the way to make money, on the way, let's build it all together. The fulfillment within, and let's work on our mission and money at the same time. All of it at the same time. Let's not focus only on money, because then at the end, everybody is going to have the same conversation. I'm not fulfilled. You speak with celebrities, you speak with so many people. You have everything to be happy. Why aren't you happy? But there is so much void. There is nobody, in my life. I say, okay, let's build that, from scratch, right now, right away. That's what I would say to leaders.
Wow. 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 That's just powerful. Let's let's kind of round our conversation, kind of cap it with, is there a small but powerful shift a leader could, one of our listeners could make, even today or this week, to
Yeah.
become more emotionally aware, to be, kind of take steps, towards this mission, this vision you've kind of laid out for us.
Yeah. For me, like, you can do every day, every minute, every hour, you can do something. Even if it's small, you can do something. And for me, it's like very much about observing the signals.
Mm,
What are the signals around me? Like me every day, because I have time every day, I have time, and every day I sit, and I go through all the signals I had all day long. And usually the repeating one. It's interesting because like today this person asked me about emotions, and we are speaking about emotions, and then somebody else spoke about emotions. Oh, that's a repeating signals, in my field about emotions. So must be something there. Not necessarily that I have to work on that, but it means that something is coming up for me, in order either, to refine something around that, or maybe a message that I have to build around that, or maybe an iteration, or maybe I have to go even deeper, on refining something. There is
mm.
something, and I'm going to find out, because I'm going to sit with it, and then I'm going to say, oh, okay, what was the common thread about all those questions around emotions? So everybody can do that with any signal that they had today.
Wow.
You had a bad day. You're starting the day. Your boss was not happy. Your kids, or teenager were, all I don't know, not be, behaving, the way you wanted. And then, you come home and you were stuck in traffic jam, and then was this car crash in front of you. And then you say, okay, okay, I need a minute, to regroup my energy and say, okay, there was a signal there.
Wow.
And then you sit down, and then you can do that, in your car, on the subway, drive, whatever people are, going, in a commute or whatever. You can do that anytime. It doesn't take long.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I love that. I love that. We are, as our listeners know, we're building this online communicators library. So it's a
Yep.
place where people can go and find new recommendations. Is there a speaker? Is there someone who every time you listen to them, you just, they just knock it, they knock it out of the park, check the boxes, and you just can't wait to tell somebody? Is there someone that you highly recommend?
Can I have an unconventional answer?
Would love that.
Yeah. So it's not a person. I mean, it's a person, of course. It's like the person I like to hear all the time is like my priest at church.
Huh.
And you know why? Because it's with the psalm. plus whatever is telling us, as the message, behind, there is always something that is, landing, resonating every week.
Wow.
So and that's the reason I'm going, because at one point I was not going to church anymore. I'm not saying that people have to go to church. It's not what I'm saying. It's like you can find it, in your everyday life. That's what I wanted to say, and that's what I like to go to church, and I'm waiting, for the psalm, and then it's okay. I'm listening, and it's okay. Something is going to resonate, and 100% of the time there is something is resonating, and it's giving me something about leadership.
I love that.
It's giving me something about leadership. Last week, today's Tuesday, so last weekend, he was talking about time. I said, "Oh, that's an interesting subject, time." And
Mm.
everybody, could have heard about this decision around time. So I would say, like, let's go listen to your priest, whoever he is, or whoever you want to.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be somebody from church, but it can be, somebody in your corner. That's what I want to
Wow.
say.
Wow.
I
That's
just said
powerful. I love that.
unconventional answer.
I love that. That's great. Is there a podcast? If you're a podcast listener, not everybody is, but is there one that either guilty pleasure or a development that you just highly recommend?
Again, I'm going to give you a unconventional answer.
I
I
love
don't know
it.
if everybody. It's like I have my own podcast actually, and so I'm not saying that people should go listen to that, but that's the one I like to go listen, because it's short podcast. It's like 10-15 minutes, and I'm going through a word or a feeling or something, and I'm trying, to define what it means, because we speak about feelings. What does it mean? We speak about safety. What does it mean? We speak about a presence. What does it mean? We speak about awareness. What does it mean? And that's what I give, as definition in my podcast. So I want to refer myself, if it's okay, Jason, with you.
I love it. I think that's fantastic. So I'm curious, just after speaking with you, is your podcast in English or is it in French?
It's in English.
Okay. Wow.
And the name of my podcast is In Between the Higher Self Leadership. Actually, that's the name of the podcast, the Higher Self Leadership.
I love it. And we will higher self. Um we will promote that and put that in the show notes and put it in our Facebook group. And we'd love to get as many people that we can to
That's
listen.
nice.
And then lastly, is there a book you run into somebody, they're about to go to a desert island? Is there one book that you recommend more than any other book?
The one book I think, if there was only one that I can have, all my life, is like, and read again and again. I think I will always find a nugget. Is like the power of now, like from Eckhart Tolle, the which is about the present moment. I think it's the power of now. I think it's in English, and I love it because it's all about now. Because there is nothing else than now. The present time. So
Wow.
that.
Boy, I love that. Where is the best place our listeners can go online and find your resources and connect with you?
So on my website, what my website is ellipsus.com, which is ELLIPS.us.com. So this is my website, the name of my brand. Excuse me. And from there they can find many things, and free resources. They can have like a leadership assessment, a free leadership assessment, about those 4 pillars. So I recommend anybody to do it, I think. And even people who have been, in leadership for many years, it's always good, to assess ourselves, at one point or another. So that's a free resources. There is free activation as well, around the safety, around moving, around momentum, and any kind of things to work with me. That's the best way to find me. And if they want to connect, there is always a LinkedIn, which is with my first name and last name, Valarie Sandjivy. They can go as well on social media like Instagram or Facebook, but those two, like my website and LinkedIn, are usually the one that you can easily get in touch with me.
I love that. And we'll make sure we'll put that in everything that we put out. This was incredible. I mean,
Thank you so much.
I'll say it this way: the wisdom just flows out of you so naturally. And so I took a page or two of notes. This was huge for my leadership. I know this will be just incredible for our listeners. Thank you so much for your willingness to just be so generous with your knowledge and what you've learned. And we will definitely be sending people to check out your resources. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason, for having me. And I'm always happy, to share the journey, because I think that what it is going, to help more people, the journey, whatever we've been through. And whoever is going, to listen to that, I'm happy that they will get any nuggets and any wisdom. And I'm happy that I could serve.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Speak with People podcast. It means the world to us when you share this episode. Thanks for liking, subscribing, or following the podcast. That really does help the podcast get into more ears and into more leaders listening. Also, don't forget, we have 2 exciting resources for you. The first is go to Facebook and join the Speakers Group. This is a community designed for leaders who want to grow their communication skills. Also, go to speakwithpeople.com/skills library to access the Communication Skills Library. It is an online resource chock filled with resources that will inspire you and transform you and grow your communication skills. Thanks again for being a part of the listening community. We cannot wait for the next episode.